starting any scan from scratch will come to new, and we decide, are we going with an alert window or a top list window? We'll do for this exercise, we'll start with an alert window, and everybody's alert window is going to default to be something. I forget exactly what it says. I think it's going to be like breaking out on volume will be the window's name for everybody when they start. And you can change what your default blank alert window starts with, or your new default alert window start with. This just happens to be what I did mine as. Try to keep it very simple. What's in here for me starting off, and just a few filters that I'm big into using. Alert windows have two components to them. So let's start with that first. Alerts are going to be events. So these here, new high, new low, new ask high, new low bid, items like these, this single icon, those are going to be your events, or better known as alerts. Then you also have your filters. Your filters will look like this. There'll be a dual set of icons here. This teal color will indicate a minimum value that you'll add for that filter, and this purple color will indicate a maximum value that you can add for that filter as well. So the first thing we do is, with building a scan, is say, what am I looking for? So I think a great place to start is with price. So we can use the search bar here and type price. All right, and that's going to return us these different items where price is involved in some way or form. Price itself here, we can see the units are here. All right, we could select that and we'll go add filter. So we've selected it here. We'll add filter. All right. Now we're in here in the window specific filter. So if you noticed in that search, when I clicked on this and I clicked add filter, it took me up here to the window specific filter. All right. And now I can add a minimum and maximum value. You don't have to add any value to any filter, but the filter won't return anything in the alert window, or won't search based on those criteria without any data added to it, without any information added to it. So for example, we wanted to look at stocks between, let's say, a minimum of $5 and a maximum of $100, all right? And so now we're at the basis of a scan. And then we could come back to search, and we could say, we can scroll through, and now let's say, we could just scan through here. If we're not sure exactly what direction we want to go with the scan, we could just kind of scroll through here and see what's available for filters, okay? And if we have a question what any of these filters are doing, we can have two options here. We can right click, select the filter so it's highlighted, see in this blue, and then you could right click and pick help. And that will bring you to this page here. I'll bring you directly to the filter you have a question about, and you'll get a definition for that filter here. Usually there's some kind of example in it too, to help you understand what the values in that filter will be if you add them. All right. And then aside from the right click, there's also whatever you've highlighted, you can click the help here, and that will bring you to that same page, right to the location where that filter definition is. All right. So back into this, we're scanning, we can scroll through to look for inspiration or ideas. If there's something we have in mind that we want to look for right away, for example, RSI, we could type RSI. All right. And we'll see what we have to offer you in those. So we can put it, for example, a 15-minute RSI in the scan. I've now highlighted it. I can add that filter, and I can give it a minimum and or maximum value. So I could say, on a 15-minute, I want to see, let's say, a minimum of 45, for example. All right. There's what we call the show me function on the filters as well. I think this is a great function to know, great feature to know about. This magnifying glass right here in the middle, if we click that, it'll give you this page right here, this segment right here. And it's telling you what adding the value will do to this. And we can change the values right inside here. So if I come to the minimum here and all of a sudden I change that to 15, watch what's going to happen here. All right. There we go. So now it's telling me, show me stocks with the RSI is at least 15. Well, what if I put something in here? Now it'll tell me, show me stocks where the RSI is between 15 and 99. Or if I put 75, not 975, 75, and it'll adjust it just like that in real time. And if I press OK now, you're going to see the values here. They're going to change to that 15 and 75 for building the scan. All right. Next, we're going to come back into the scan here. All right. And well, volume was always good, right? We can search for different items that we have relating to volume. All right, and maybe we want a specific amount of shares minimum traded on the day. So here we go, volume today, the unit of shares. We'll go ahead and highlight that. We'll add the filter. We'll come back to here. And we can say, I want to see at least the stock to trade 350,000 shares, for example. All right. Then we come back to search. And again, so many different filters that are in here. Scroll right through. Inspiration, you never know when it's going to strike. Perhaps you're looking for some kind of range, or you want to implement some kind of options volume, perhaps. A gap might matter to you, all right? Perhaps you want to scan around whole numbers, all right? So here's a great filter, the decimal filter. If we go ahead and we click that help, just want to show you the definition once again. And so here's, the decimal filter, all right? And we can see these advanced filters look at the decimal part of stock price. They are most often used to find stocks trading near the whole number price. All right, to use these, fill in both values with a number that is at least 0.00 and less than 1. The decimal part of the stock must be at least the minimum value and at the most the maximum value, or the alert will not be displayed. Leave both values blank to ignore this filter and show alerts regardless of the decimal value. Examples, so whole numbers only. Set both values to 0, and then you'll see stocks that are trading exactly at a whole number. Here are your examples, all right? And so on and so forth for those decimal values, okay? And so we can go ahead and we'll highlight that. And I see YouTube, there's a couple of questions that came in. Give me a second here. And, we could say, a minimum value of, let's say, 0.95, 0.95, and a maximum value of, let's say, 0.02, and show that this will tell me where stocks are essentially between those values like that. Okay, and we'll go ahead and click OK. All right, and now we have the basis of an alert window here. All right, I think the last one that I want to look at for you, because I think it's always great for people to understand what this filter does, is relative volume. All right, and here's a relative volume alert, not to be confused with the filter that we're going to work with. They're very similar, but not exactly the same. We click add that filter. What the relative volume filter does is it looks back 10 days and gives us a ratio average of the volume over those 10 days, okay? So 1 equals normal volume, 0.5 would equal half the volume it's doing, 2 would equal 2 times, 3 would equal 3 times, so on and so forth. And what will happen is when an alert happens with that stock, it's basically saying that this stock has a relative volume of X amount, and at the continued, if the stock were to continue at the exact pace it is, that's where it's headed. Of course, if the volume slows down, relative volume will react accordingly. And we could see that, going on here in the single stock window. So for this exercise on the scan, we're going to put a 3 relative volume, and we are now going to come to press OK. And that brings us to the summary tab. There are other tabs in here. I'm going to leave those for another moment. Maybe we'll circle back to those today. Perhaps we get them on another day. I want to catch up on some of the other questions too, but this is the general basis of building a scan. Now we'll give the alert window a name. We'll call it BUILDING in Zoom alert window. One missed big component. I'm sorry. We did not add the alert or the event, okay? So in the summary, it does say that there's an alert here. It's a default that I've used for all alert windows when I create a new one, all right? We have to decide a new event on the day, a new high, new ask high, new filtered high. All these are items here, we could do for standard deviation. We could do percent up for the day, large bids. There's so many different items in here. And again, there's no one that's a master of all of them, but that's what the help feature is for here, all right, to understand what these are. In this exercise, we're just going to go with the simple new high alert here. We're going to click add alert, and now it brings us to the selected alerts here, all right? And we need to put a check mark in the one we want to use. So I remove the check mark from cross resistance because we're not going to use that. I put a check mark here. You can see there's these fields here. These are called alert filters, not to be confused with the Windows specific filters. The example to use in this here is going to be 365 in this field would be looking for a 52-week high. That means that we're counting weekends here. If we leave this field blank, we're just looking at a new high today, which is what we're going to do with this here. Now we can press OK. So our event or alert that has to happen to trigger this, the stock has to be making a new high on the day. Then not only does it have to be making a new high, but every one of these filters has to be satisfied. The price range, the relative volume minimum, the minimum amount of shares, the RSI, the in between the RSI, and this decimal has to be. All right. And if I press OK, we're going to see what we get. And so the last alert that came through this was DPCS. We can take a look at that chart and we can see that's quite an interesting looking stock. Now, something I want to note here on this, all right? When this alert came through at 3:42 a.m., 3:42 p.m. my time, all right? That's the last alert that came through it on today. We could see that the relative volume at that alert time was 531. If we look at the relative volume on it now, we can see it's 524 here on our single stock window, okay? That means that the volume has essentially left the stock at this point since its last trade, all right, and moving down. So we're saying at this time, at this pace, that's what's happening right now for the volume. But that pace has to continue for the day. That pace has not continued. So that's the result we see moving down. And that's the power of relative volume. It's a twofold power, what it was doing at the time of the alert and what it's going to be doing moving forward as we continue to maybe monitor a stock that might interest us. All right.